Hi everyone, it's Arjun Paliwal here, the Director at InvestorKit. For those who are wondering, what's my story? Well, at the age of 22 I purchased my first property, and 2.5 years later I was able to build a property portfolio of 9 properties. That was mixed between commercial and residential, and across 4 states, giving me a passive income to be able to leave work, travel around and set up the business here today, InvestorKit. Welcome to firstly episode 1 of The Board. Today I'm going to go through the 3 key areas that I really focused on when I first started investing in property. The things that got me able to get my savings plan going together and really keep it consistent, and most importantly not fall apart, which is actually some of the things that really goes wrong on today when we look at how we build our savings plan to get that first or second or beyond that place. So if we're trying to prioritize these, it's very, very often that we hear and say restrictions is the most important. Now when we think of restrictions, what does that mean? It basically means lowering your expenses and minimizing them. Now, some examples. We all hate the coffee one, right? So give it away, stop your coffees, reduce the coffees, the breakfast that you have, and look, if you can't do it, you're probably not going to be able to get into the property market. That's what we hear all the time. And I tried it, I tried to restrict it, but for me it just wasn't sustainable. Because when I found myself restricting things, I then tried to save what was left over. But then very quickly, when I flipped that around and changed my priorities, I found my savings goals plus my restrictions all being managed much better. Let's talk about what that looks like. Priority number 1 should always be income. And then with the income, how much of it you're able to store. So when I got to a sweet spot, I found that momentum gathering really quickly when it was at about 40 to 50% of your net income. Now I promise you, if you start off with the income first and the storage second and then your restrictions, you're going to be able to massage your restrictions better. And most importantly, rather than a goal of how much little you should spend, you've already achieved a goal of saving 40% of your income. So now that we go into storage, what does storage even mean? Why not say savings? Because when I was saving, I found it almost empty. I found it putting money aside, and I didn't really have any goals to attach to it. But when I started to think to myself, okay, I'm storing my money because I know I'm going to invest it one day to hopefully multiply the money or generate passive income from it. So then when I started using these simple words like let's store my money, let's store it because I'm going to use it one day. It's not just going to be saved, it's going to be stored. Okay? Now when does this need to happen? It needs to happen the day after, or if possible, depending on how you get paid, the day of your payday. Now for me that was fortnightly. So that meant at the end of every single fortnight, I was left with the restrictions. So this for me became much more automated, much easier to save, and much easier to tackle my goal of getting into my first property. Because when you now look at the values of restrictions, you can either go, maybe I can have that extra coffee now because what I've got left with is what I've got left with. I've done the hard yards of saving first. Or maybe, hey, I was pretty good this week, next week I can go out for a couple extra breakfasts. Now if you find yourselves getting too tight with the restrictions and it's just not working at the 40% margin, I'm sorry, it's not this that needs to be changed, it's this here. It's all about the income. If this is not achievable, we need to revisit how can we increase this income, whether it be from our work or our investments, a side hustle, a second job. These are the type of things that we need to think about and what I wanted to leave you with today. So that's it from episode 1 on The Board, and that's it from us here at InvestorKit, the experts in wealth creation helping you take action.